Good evening, everybody. It's now 5:30. We'll go ahead and get started with our BZA meeting for tonight. First, we'll have a silent prayer, pledge of allegiance, roll call, and we'll get into the public hearing for the two variances on the agenda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Here.
Mr. Whitman,
Here.
Mr. Bennett,
Here.
Mr. Derrick is absent. Mr. Rentz,
Present.
Ms. Coy, here. 5 present. We have quorum.
Great. So tonight we have two variances to hear. Do we want to start with swearing everybody in?
Sure. Evening, my name is Vic Whitney. I'm legal counsel to the Board of Zoning Appeals tonight. As the chairperson indicated, we have two public hearings. The first one is a variance request for 37 East Granville Street, requesting a minimum 4 space variance of an apartment. As you can see, we have a court reporter here who's taking everything down. This is a public hearing. So we are making a record of these proceedings. So in a moment, we'll have anyone that is going to offer any comment or testimony, including the applicant, to stand up. I think we did this before, perhaps. Stand up and raise your right hand, and we'll have the stenographer swear you in. The chairperson will call persons in turn to give comment and testimony on this application. When he does, please come up to the podium there and state your full name and address clearly into the microphone, so we can make sure that we can hear you. The board may or may not have questions for you during the public hearing portion. If they do, please let them state their question before you respond. The stenographer can only take down one person speaking at any one given time, so we make sure the record is clear that way. So with that said, anyone that may be giving testimony or comment on this first variance request for 37 East Granville Street, please stand up and raise your right hand, and we'll have the stenographer swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you present will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
And Mr. Shrewsbury, I'm in the process of marking the exhibits for this first one. I don't have them done yet. So before we go off the record on this first hearing, I want to admit the exhibits into record. It's going to take me a second. So if you want to go ahead and proceed with the applicant, that's fine.
Sure. Do we want to go into the staff report first? Yes. Okay.
Do you want? Oh, yes, if you want to recuse yourself.
Okay, I'm going to recuse myself due to proximity of my building to the property in question.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mr. Shrewsbury. So this variance request is a part of a project to redevelop the site after roof collapse last year. Along with this variance, there was also a major commercial site plan and a conditional use request, both which were approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission in their past June meeting, contingent upon the approval of the variance. So all of these are tied together. With those approvals, this would still need to be approved for everything to be approved. Right now, the site is currently zoned Central Business District C3, which does allow for apartments as a conditional use when they are above or adjacent to commercial or office uses, which this plan complies with. The variance request is to reduce the minimum required square footage in that conditional use from 1,020 square feet to 875 square feet. This requested variance relates only to the minimum square footage of the proposed apartments, and it does not alter the approved residential use or the exterior design of the building. And although it's not directly comparable, there are recent residential developments that have been approved through plan districts that have 4 spaces less than a minimum approved in the C3 zoning district. So all of those are in planned planned commercial or planned residence districts. So not apples to apples comparison, but it isn't something that hasn't been done in the city. And we definitely have apartments that are lower than what is being requested by the applicant. And then currently there are two other apartment buildings located in spaces above or adjacent to commercial uses on the square. One over Branch Pizza right behind us here, and then one over Sunbury Diner directly to our north here. With that, that is all I have for the staff report.
We'll move into the applicant presentation. Carly?
I'm Brad Hall, 12041 Wildwood Lane, Sunbury.
And I'm Clark Sabula, one of the architects working on the project. Yeah, so just to kind of reiterate some of the things in Alex's report, this building collapsed in the big snowfall this last winter by no fault of the owner, and we were just brought on to help rebuild it and kind of add some additional features to the building using the site to its fullest potential. And one of those things is just adding 2 new apartments to the building. I'm not sure, I just want to clarify, there's 2 stacked in the back, first and second floor. As you can see in the exhibit, the building is pretty small, and we're reusing the entire existing foundation of the building. So that's the main factor, the driving component of what caused the limit of this square footage. The apartment is very comparable to apartments in this area, and especially the greater Columbus area. There's still full-size bathroom, living room, kitchen, and closets for each bedroom. So there's no lack of features as you would see in a normal 2-bedroom apartment. I think that's kind of the highlights if there's any questions for us.
And one thing about the apartments, they are going to be very open space. We've got vaulted ceilings, so it's gonna have more scale of openness versus, you know, walking in. You got a foyer and a powder room and all that stuff. So we do have the openness that's gonna really help, you know, add to the scale of it. You're not gonna feel like you're in a cramped space. So that's kind of, you know, what we've designed it as. But we'll answer any questions you guys can ask.
Any questions?
I have a question on the other comparable apartments.
Yes.
Did they have to go through a variance request too?
No, so as a part of a planned district or planned commercial district, as some of them have been approved as, they request divergences, which are approved alongside the rezoning. So it's very similar to a variance in that it is changing what the code is, just a different process that goes through the Planning and Zoning Commission with the rezoning approval. So they essentially asked for the rezoning to a planned district, and then they asked for these divergences alongside.
And so the city's already approved similar requests in that way?
Yes. Similar is in less than the 1,020 square feet. I know we have some around 900 and some around 1,000 in our newer approvals.
Do you know what is there like a safety concern with just the square footage requirement? Is that?
I think it's solely to make sure that there is adequate room for people to live and not go below. Sean, I don't know if you have any other experience with requirements for square footage, but that was my belief.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Alex said. Generally, it's sometimes a preference, but sometimes it's also based on the public infrastructure that can support a particular site. So when Alex was working through the summary, something that I brought up was having the available parking spaces. If there's a reduction in the size, then obviously you can fit more units on the acre. So the public infrastructure we need to accommodate that. So planned development districts can sometimes have a greater ability to add additional parking outside of the required. With this site, I think that was something that Alex looked at as well. Whenever I asked him, he said he had already covered that. And I think parking spaces was something he went through. Same thing with trash services. Are we talking units or little cart units? Or are we talking dumpsters? The amount of dumpsters spaces that can sometimes be needed as well. Also some proximity, as far as, what's surrounding it. So if you have a higher density area next to a different type of rural setting or a low density area, sometimes there's compatibility or conflicting pieces there that are taken into consideration. So all those things can have a determining factor. Price points, rental price points are obviously based on square footage as well, but not always. Sometimes you can have a 500 acre or 500 square foot apartment in New York, and it's probably going to lease for a higher amount than an 875 square feet apartment here. So a lot of determining factors can go into it.
You know how big the apartments are that exist on the square? Are they comparable or?
I wasn't able to find any square footage for the apartments listed on the square. I just know that there is a use for apartment, but it doesn't list the square footage or the breakdown of it.
The existing apartments are also C3 for their.
Yes, so they are both in C3 district and both are above commercial establishments, both being restaurants.
But neither of the existing ones have any on the main
First
first floor.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
No first floor in the other existing ones.
The first floor apartments?
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge, no.
And on your proposal, are the apartments accessed only by external, or can they get to the apartments from inside the commercial spaces?
Yes, and I guess just some reasoning behind the stacked units versus both on the top floor. It ultimately comes down to just kind of construction feasibility and of course, construction costs. So stacking units allows for more efficient plumbing, electrical, fire walls, and structural components versus stacking two different uses on top of each other.
And the upper unit, that's not gonna have a long-term rental. That's gonna be used just for our family. We have 5 boys and 3 are in the Navy. So when they come home with their families, if we can't house everybody, they have that. So we can have their family and everything like that. So the only one that we're gonna be renting out, we already kind of have our tenant, is just the lower unit.
I'm gonna ask a question, and if it's not for this meeting, then we can table it or sketch it, but because the building proposed is more than 3,000 square feet, and there's gonna be commercial spaces, and it's only accessed by the external, what Americans with Disabilities Act are they responsible to cover for?
That's a good question. I'll jump in a little bit. So I'd probably say that's going to be an architectural question that he may be able to reference. Generally, there's architectural standards related to fire code, ADA compliance. And so if the architect wanted to speak to that, that's what I would assume would be in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, so I'll just add, I forget the exact number, so I apologize, but I want to say it's 4,000 or 5,000 square feet. Total building size is the cutoff for needing an elevator. And the existing footprint was just below that, so we will not have an elevator. However, we do have an accessible stair, which is sized large enough so if somebody is upstairs, how they get up there, and they get injured, that is sized for like fire crew to carry them down the stairs safely, as well as the bathrooms, kind of just our standard for all apartments. The bathrooms are always type B, which means someone who, not a wheelchair, but someone who is disabled in other ways has enough room to maneuver.
Thank you.
What is the primary obstruction to getting to that 1,020 square foot?
It's very much the existing foundation. It's honestly just a balance of the building's program. As you see, there's 2 offices on the first floor, who we also have to work within to not have a useless business use on the square, which would, in our opinion, be more detrimental than 145 square feet missing from the apartment.
So I'm sorry, did I read this already went through Zoning?
So this has gone through planning and zoning for two reasons. One, the site plan and the commercial site as a whole. So the rebuilding of the building requires planning and zoning commission recommendation for approval, and then city council approval final. And then the conditional use for the use of an apartment itself was also approved by the planning and zoning commission. That is final approval through planning commission. That won't have to go to city council. And then both of those approvals are contingent on the variance itself. So essentially, they said if the variance is okay with this board, then the rest of the project is also okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because the footprint is in the right of way, the existing footprint of the building, rebuilding on that, it's also going to go to council in that regard for a resolution to acknowledge the fact that they're allowed to rebuild within the right of way. So.
What is the lowest square footage of the apartments you're referencing that are new builds?
Of two bedroom or general?
Two bedrooms.
In two bedroom, we are a little above 875. I believe it's between 900 and 950, but I believe it's 920. And those are, just to give a frame point, those are bigger like apartment buildings, 3-story walk-up apartments. So they're not in this exact same setting or location.
Yeah, I looked it up. The ones down the street are 1175 for 2-bedroom.
Okay, do we have any more questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay. I don't need a vote to move on to.
No.
Before we do that, I'd like to.
Oh, right. Yep. Go ahead.
Don't believe there's anyone in the public that wants to speak as to this either. So I will move to admit 4 exhibits into the record related to this variance application. I've marked as Exhibit A, a 4-page document, which is the application submitted by the applicant. Exhibit B is a 5-page document, which is the plans and detailed drawings that were submitted by the applicant, 5 pages, Exhibit B. Exhibit C is 7 pages, which is the staff report prepared by staff and submitted to the board, 7 pages, Exhibit C. And Exhibit D is 5 pages, which is the public hearing notice and the mailings and proof of mailings to the affected property owners. Exhibit D, 5 pages. So with that, we move Exhibit A through D into the record. And we're free to move on to the next hearing if you're ready.
I have one comment. Something that might seem interesting to some of you, as we've gotten some questions, is in work in Columbus, we're actually seeing people trying to push apartments as small as possible down to 400 square feet even, so that they actually are more accessible price point for people who might not be able to afford 1,100 square feet. That's just kind of an interesting perspective that the size of these might actually be a benefit to them, in fact, as opposed to a detriment.
Thank you for your presentation and explaining. All right, next we'll go on to our second variance for 815 Callaway Lane.
Should we get Barry too?
Rick's gonna go grab Barry.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Oh.
Yeah.
For our second variance tonight, do we want to start with swearing in? Is there anybody here? I don't think
Again, I'm
anybody's here.
Vic Whitney, Legal Counsel, Board of Zoning Appeals. This next public hearing, as the chairperson indicated, is a variance request for a corner lot ornamental fence at 815 Callaway Lane. Again, anyone that wishes to offer any comment or testimony as to this application, when called by the chairperson, please come up to the lectern and speak loudly and clearly into the microphone. Please state your name and your residence, so we have record of that. Don't speak when the board is speaking, and answer their question when their question is fully completed. And with that, I will turn it over to the court reporter to swear us in.
Okay, you swear or affirm that the testimony I present will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. And I am ready with the exhibits at this point, Mr. Shrewsbury, so I will move to admit, once again, 4 exhibits into the record related to this application. I've marked as Exhibit A, 5-page document, which is the application submitted by the applicant. Exhibit B is a 6-page document, which is the plans and photographs and a approval letter or a letter from Omni. HOA approval letter. Yeah, there we go. And then marked as Exhibit C is a 7-page document, which is the staff report submitted to the board. 7 pages is Exhibit C, and Exhibit D is 6 pages, which is the public hearing and the proof of mailing to the affected property owners. With that, I will move to admit Exhibits A through D into the record.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll move into the staff report.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Shrewsbury. So this variance is to allow for an ornamental fence to be constructed in the rear yard of a corner lot property. Ornamental fences are not referenced in the corner lot section of our fence regulations. Privacy and split rail are both considered, but ornamental is not referenced. Because the ordinance doesn't specifically address the ornamental fences in this location, that is the reason that this request is brought to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The city has reviewed similar variance requests for ornamental fences, both in this neighborhood, in adjacent neighborhoods, and in older neighborhoods and subdivisions in the city. The proposed fence is 20 feet from the right-of-way line going to the east, and then it is 85 feet from the adjacent intersection approximately. And the proposed fence would meet all other fence regulations and zoning ordinance standards aside from the location. Ornamental fences of this style are commonly installed in this subdivision and all newer subdivisions. And the applicant did also submit an HOA approval letter, which they obtained, I believe, which is contingent upon the approval here as well. And then the applicant could not attend tonight. They had prior obligations and they had to pick up their daughter. So I do have their narrative statement, which I'm going to read next. But before I jump into that, do you guys have any questions on the staff report? So this is a narrative statement provided by the applicant, Brittany Fink. She said, "Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to consider my variance request. My family is requesting approval for a 4-foot aluminum picket, open, see-through fence that would extend approximately 20 feet from the side of our home. This would still leave a significant amount of open space between the fence and the roadway, preserving visibility for both drivers and pedestrians. Our request is based on several unique circumstances. We specifically purchased this corner lot because of its larger yard, but we were not informed during the home buying process that the corner lot setback requirements would significantly reduce the usable portion of the backyard. Had we known, we would have made a different decision when selecting the lot. The fence has already been reviewed and approved by our HOA contingent upon city approval. Because our HOA does not allow split rail fencing, a 4-foot open style fence is the only option that complies with both HOA standards and provides the safety our family needs. Our primary goal is safety. We have a young daughter and family pets, and a fence would provide a secure area for them to play safely while remaining visible through the open design. The proposed fence is not intended to obstruct sightlines or create a visual barrier, but rather to safely enclose a portion of our yard while maintaining the open appearance of the neighborhood. We respectfully ask that the board to consider that the fence is only 4 foot tall and completely see-through. It extends about 20 feet from our home, leaving ample distance to the street. It has already received HOA approval pending city approval. It will improve the safety of our young child and pets. The hardship resulted from the unique limitations of our corner lot and information that was not disclosed when we purchased the property. We sincerely appreciate your time and consideration and respectfully request approval of our variance. Thank you." And that is from the applicant. And I can answer any questions you guys have. I did alert the applicant if there were any questions or any restrictions that would prevent a vote from happening today. I would alert them and work with them to try to get them in front of you guys for the next meeting. So if there is any strong uphold or a question that we need answered to make a decision, I can reiterate that to the applicant and get them here or get the question answered.
So I have a question, and I noticed in the letter here, I don't know if we can pull this up on the screen and I can point it out. it might be a little bit easier. The letter from their HOA. It says here, the deed restriction attached to highlighted below do not allow a fence to be forward to that corner of the lot. That's deed restriction. My understanding is the HOA or the home builder itself, once those deed restrictions are approved, they can't just change their mind. The deed restriction has to be changed by a vote. Where, I forget the exact percentage, it's a high percentage of the homeowners who vote who agree to change the deed restriction. Next community wide or maybe. So I have some hesitation to vote on this, because I don't want to misguide an approval if the deed restriction ultimately stops them from installing.
Sure. Well, I mean, you bring up a good point. However, with respect to the obligations of this board, your duty is to, review the code, review the nature of the variance that's being requested, review the Duncan factors to determine whether or not you feel that the variance should be approved or denied. You're not providing a ratification of deed restrictions or other things in the chain of title that are by approving it, should this board approve it, or ratifying any things like that that might be issues for the applicant or the owner of the property. So again, with that said, as Alex had indicated earlier, to the extent it nonetheless causes you pause, certainly, this could be tabled and the applicant could be brought in here with the express direction to resolve that issue, but to the satisfaction of the board. But again, it's, in my opinion, it's not your responsibility to concern, or that's not a board concern at this level in terms of this variance.
I didn't see any in here. Have there been any objections from any residents at all?
I've not had any objections called in, no.
And following up on the deed restriction thing, that I have not read that letter in depth, but skimming it and listening to what was just said, isn't it the HOA that determines that stuff, that sort of thing, and not us?
The HOA and or an affected landowner that's in, or property owner that's resident that's inside the homeowner association. So to the extent there is a valid deed restriction there that is being violated, someone would bring that up. But again, that's a civil matter between those property owners, between the homeowners association and the landowner. That's the applicant that's here today. So again, it's not this board's responsibility to determine, that there's a legal question in there as well that is involved the applicant, the deed restriction, whether it's in force, whether it's currently valid or not, that all would have to be, potentially determined, which is outside the scope of what this board's
That's
responsibility.
between the HOA and the property owner.
Right. So yes, again, if there is an issue there that they are, building something that exceeds the authority pursuant to the deed restrictions or the HOA, that's an issue between them and the HOA.
So from my understanding, I used to be the HOA president in one of the communities here in Sunbury. The deed restrictions are just the baseline governing documents that tell people what they can and cannot do on their properties. This particular situation, they've requested approval from their HOA to deviate from the deed restrictions, and they have an approval letter in hand. So the HOA has signed off on it and said they're okay with the variance. Now they have to move to the next step, going to the city to find out if they can get past the fencing ridge because it's a corner lot. So the basic fence policy doesn't apply here. It's unfortunate that they couldn't be here to ask questions directly. So I don't know if we need to table this one so we can get more feedback, or if we want to proceed with the information we have.
I feel like we've done a dozen of these over the years.
We have.
And
correct me if I'm wrong, it's just because the code is so old that it doesn't specify ornamental fencing, right?
Yeah, so it addresses split rails are permitted in this area. Privacy fences are only permitted with approval here, and then it says all other fences are not considered in that. So if it's not a privacy or a split rail, the code is not touching on the subject.
Just my understanding is like, this doesn't look any different than some of the others we've approved in the past. Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with that statement.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fence requests. A few of those have been within HOA restriction.
Yeah, but again, that's not our call.
I know.
HOA has nothing to do with
yeah.
us. That's not our battle, thankfully. Yeah.
My concern is the conditional approval. I know it's not up to us, but I don't want to say no and turn somebody down for something and then, or even approve them, and then there's something else that's saying no. I have hesitation on voting on this.
I don't think the HOA really applies to us.
I know.
Do we table and hold or do we proceed with a vote?
Well, we're still in the public hearing, so we need to.
So if there's nobody asked questions to, if we're done with discussion, we can make a motion to close the public hearing. If there are no other ones. Okay. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Renzel second.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Mr. Renz,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Coy,
Yes.
5 yeas, motion approved.
Mary, can you recuse yourself again?
My suggestion would be to just move the order around on the agenda, which you guys can do unless anyone has objection. So
Going back
and then come back.
No,
Okay. We can switch them around.
Okay.
He's gonna have to come
You
back.
guys are all over that.
To close the meeting, yeah.
Other things.
Doesn't matter. I'm retired. Do you want to do do Brad's
It's up to
first?
you.
That's, I'll go.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Barry.
I think they could, as long as Jack's still. Then there's nothing doubt. You do it.
Okay, so we can open up for any board discussion for our first variance for 37 East Granville Street. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
No.
I mean, I'm good. It sounds like the city is favorable and there's somewhat comparable units in the city. That's my take.
I'm a little hesitant because it's the lowest square footage within the city. I understand what they're trying to do. It's a difference of about 2 feet. That would get them to the same square footage as the lowest already in the plan zone.
It's just open.
If you guys want to step up to the mic, you guys can answer questions and discuss as well.
If you were sworn in, yeah. Did we swear?
Public hearing's over.
You don't need to swear.
Public hearing's over.
Yeah.
So
It's not,
Then
it's
go
not
ahead.
on the record.
Say. That we asked Alex on during the meeting, and we don't know if the units are above grade, it's above the diner. And adding 2 feet to our building is not, it sounds trivial, but it's tens of thousands of dollars. And Sunbury Mills leases apartments, 2 bedroom, 800 square feet, right around the corner. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't
What was
think
this,
adding,
the number that you said? The square footage number?
I was in the house on rent.
Okay.
You get 2 bedroom, 800 square foot there. I don't know where the 1,020 is, and I don't know what's the reasoning for 1,020 square feet.
My advice would be to stick You know, think about the totality of the circumstances here and stick to your Duncan factors. Comparable other square footages, you know, individual parcels, other property owners may or may not be relevant, but in terms of doing your analysis, I would stick to the totality of what's going on here in this one and look at your Duncan factors.
I think it's a unique situation. There's not a real opportunity to add square footage based on the foundation that's already in place.
Yeah, any kind of addition on a foundation is very costly, so.
And to your point, at what you're gonna start shrinking the commercial size of it, and then is that as useful as it can be for minimal square footage? That's my take. They're already shrinking the commercial space because they didn't have apartments before. Exactly. So.
Pile on some of the discussion. It was a one-story prior. So the total square feet of what is being proposed is substantially larger if we're looking at square footage versus what was the square footage of the current building that obviously fell down. Something else, if there's a concern about precedent being set, I think the uniqueness has a factor in that to where it's not a standalone apartment building. I think that would have a different element to it and the board would want to look at that differently. But this is a commercial mixed use type of development, so that can add different factors that the board would want to consider when it's evaluating square foot. But I don't believe that this would set a precedent for a standalone apartment complex or a different type of mixed use building that has a different set of circumstances. So I'm not trying to sway anything, but I figure more information may be helpful.
It's not, being constructed from a clean slate either. They're trying to utilize the space that's already there. So I think there's some uniqueness to that. Well, you're bound by the plot. You can't go across the lines, you can't go across the driveway. You're limited to this space. But the previous building was a single story and now you want to do a second story. So then you are reworking the foundation because the foundation probably wasn't built to support a second story originally. So there is restructure.
But the exists, or I guess, the building that fell over was all flow bearing masonry, right? So putting wood building on top of that actually is plywood, so 2 stories of wood now, because the foundation is running up for the flows of wood versus bricks. We just had our structural engineer there today doing all the tests on it. It passed the flying colors, I think ready to go.
Can't take it, you're waiting on us.
Yeah, we passed everything but you guys.
I'll make a motion to approve if we're to that point. Unless you guys have other,
No, we are at that point.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Ms. Coy,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Can't make a decision.
Is there any further discussion or questions you want to ask?
I understand the restrictions that they have with keeping the foundation, and I don't want to make this more challenging by asking them to change the foundation. However, I am hesitant to agree to a smaller square footage of an apartment than what's already in the city. But you stated 920, the applicants stating 800 some in another community.
The 920 I was referencing, the numbers I had were strictly on the last couple approvals we had. So the ravines at Meadow Ridge, which is the 3-story walk-ups further west, and then the Sunbury Commerce Park over just to the side of us here. I didn't look back into Sunbury Mills or North Star that was brought forward by the applicant. Those were approved years ago, so I don't have the knowledge on those specifically. I know that we do have apartments smaller than the ones I listed in the city, but I don't have the exact numbers in front of me.
I mean, I'm looking at the layout and they didn't have the second floor before, and you're restricted by where the stairwell is to increase the size for the apartments upstairs. Yeah, I mean, that's not an option with the stairwell where it is. I'd be more favorable if we could do that, but with the design as it is, that's not an option. For the commercial side, we're absolutely restricted on space. You can't go any smaller, not even a foot.
Obviously, anything is possible.
Well, I mean, you have safety restrictions you gotta meet.
Really ultimately balance of uses, in making a useful office and useful living space. We're not trying to set any type of precedent, you know, we're trying to bring back, I want to come back to my office and work. My wife does too. Our building's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna stand out, it's gonna bring Sunbury some fresh, you know, just new exciting things. And like I said, the second floor apartment is not for it's not for long-term use. That is our own personal space that we'll be utilizing. And we're gonna have a commercial, some type of commercial business above our offices to bring another, hopefully nice, inviting space for, you know, kids or adults. So I mean, we're trying a long-term plan here. And if I could build a bigger building, I absolutely would, but I don't have tens and $20,000-$30,000 to do it. I just don't. Trying to utilize everything I got to make it beautiful.
And we're compromising, we're getting rid of the stairs, which I love the stairs, I love people sitting on the front porch, watching the Fourth of July parade or the things on the square. We're getting rid of our stairs.
We're gonna
Sitting there,
zero
I said, like our sign, we're getting rid of, we're compromising.
Getting rid of our sign, we're, you know, our stairs are in the right of way, I think by 6.5 feet. We're giving back 30 feet of that back to the city. We're getting rid of my sign in front, that's gonna be now concrete, so it's gonna be a nice, it's gonna be a nice eyesight. And I think part of the, if you're not wondering why there has to be two commercial spaces on the one. That's an accessibility move, so there could be rather than both their businesses being on top of each other, this first one, the second floor has no accessible access, so we have two accessible businesses on level one, which is also very.
We have staff, we can't keep shrinking it, we've got enough space for our employees.
And I mean, all the other meetings, city council, the zoning, the conditional use, that all went through with flying colors, no public ascension. I think a couple issues with drainage, which I mean, I think will drain. But you know, everybody was on board with what we're trying to do.
Okay, I'll approve.
Yes.
Mr. Renz,
Yes.
four yeas, motion approved.
Congratulations. Okay. We gotta get Mr. Barry back in here. Barry.
Thank you, guys.
Good night. Walk, don't run. We don't need any engines. Okay, so now we're gonna move into board discussion and action on our second variance for the night at 815 Callaway. So anybody have comments, questions, concerns?
I think we've approved like 8 of these already. Is my just candid take on this. And I don't see anything on this one that's significantly different from the others. I think it goes back to the wording in the code that kind of usually kicks these off. So, I mean, my view is, I don't see any issues, but that's just my take.
So in our discussion, in our communication back to the applicant, if we vote to approve this, I think in the best interest of the applicant, we need to make clear that this doesn't necessarily give them approval to deviate from a deed restriction. Even though they have conditional approval from their HOA, I have a hesitation to understand that that's deed restrictions being enforced. And I know that's not our realm of responsibility, but I just want to make sure that it's clear we're not giving them approval to deviate from that deed restriction.
Yeah, I can put that in the correspondence back to the applicant. Either way, I'm fine with doing that. And then I can even provide it, the section you pointed out on the screen. I can highlight that and make sure it's pointed out directly where it says it too.
Okay.
So off topic, but with all of the growth occurring, I think we talked about this. Is there like consideration to just change the language on this?
We are actively working on a zoning code update. Yes, so it is one on our list of items to address.
Yeah, okay.
Certainly.
I thought we talked about before.
Yeah, so we did, and then our last zoning code update was specifically for a district, and we didn't want to tie it in to shoehorn it into the district text. We were waiting on our bigger reestablishment of our zoning ordinances, which is what we're currently working on, which will tackle several other matters in addition to bigger projects. So
Got it.
it is on our list actually this time. We haven't had one in a while, so it was
Yeah,
good
it
shake
did
them up.
cool down for a little bit.
Any other question? Any other board discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second by Rents.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Rents,
Yes.
Ms. Coy,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury.
Yes.
5 yeas, motion approved.
Great. Next item, approval of the minutes from May 18th. Anybody have any corrections on those minutes?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,
Yes.
Mr. Rents,
Yes.
Ms. Coy,
Yes.
5 yeas, motion approved.
Any new business?
Not for me.
Anything on the agenda yet for next month?
Potentially, we don't have an official submitted application, but I've been discussing with an applicant about potentially being on the agenda. So I
Other
would
events?
recommend keeping it open, but I'll confirm once the application's officially in.
I'll make a motion to close.
Second by Rents.
Mr. Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Mr. Rents,
Yes.
Ms. Coy,
Yes.
Mr. Whitman,